Welcome to the Good Morning from the Chicken Coop podcast with Kim Johnson, your creative strategist and master mindset coach. Filled with inspiration, distinctions, perspectives, and possibilities, we help you to cultivate a mindset that leads you to create the best version of yourself you could ever imagine. Join Kim every morning from one of her favorite happy places, her chicken coop, along with all her chickens.
Hey everybody, good morning from the chicken coop. Today, we are going to talk about the fact that there are no bad emotions. Now, hear all this going on in the background? I actually decided to talk about this because of what's going on in my chicken coop right now. So this particular girl is very, very upset because someone is in her box. And chickens are really odd. They have their own little world. As any of you I talk to may know, they have their own little world and they have their own little opinions. And while these girls all have 8 boxes that they can go to and lay eggs in, they have their favorites, and they won't, even if others are empty, they just won't go in. So she is actually standing here waiting to get in her box, and her emotions are all over the place. And she is very, very, very upset right now. Now, and I can hear you. So the upset will continue, and it's going to get loud because, quite frankly, she is sincerely irritated with the fact that someone may be in her box. So why am I using this as an example? Because this emotion that she's in is not a bad emotion. She's using it and she's trying to create urgency in the other chicken, saying, I got to lay my egg. You're in my spot. Come on, come on, come on. Now, it's very simple. She will stand here and she will wait and she will make that noise until something happens and the other chicken leaves. And you might think this is a silly example to use, but I really want you guys to hear it. Is it a bad emotion? No, it's just information. And, you know, I will often refer to it this way, and I'll say emotions are information. Emotions only become bad when they do damage to you or they do damage to another person. But in the meantime, that's just information. So if you're angry and you lash out and you hurt another person, that's a bad result of the emotion. Do you see the difference? The emotion itself is not bad. The emotion itself is just information. The emotion isn't doing any harm to you unless you consistently stay in it and allow it to do harm to you. So what's so important to recognize is all that information is given to you so that you can make decisions and choices about and for yourself. So if I'm upset about something, I can't ignore it, because if I ignore it, then it means I'm not getting the information that I need to make my life better. When we ignore our emotions, when we ignore what they're trying to give us for information and stuff them down, we actually create sickness in our body because we haven't dealt with it. We haven't gotten to the point of being able to turn that emotion into something that takes us into a better place. So if the ignoring of emotions is a very dangerous thing, and it's actually done a lot, which I am always surprised about, how many people just ignore what's really wrong instead of making it in their mind something that they can use for information about how to shift, change, develop their world, and move forward. So let's use an example of something that's very common that I often hear about, where it's your job, let's say, is just making you crazy and you hate your job. And you hate certain aspects of your job. You might not like your boss. You might not like what your pay is. There's lots of information in that package. But all that emotion, everything that's coming at you in it, is just that. It's information. So you have to decide, how am I going to break this down and work through it? So the very first thing that I would tell you to do is sit down and write down what are all the emotions that are coming up around this subject. Get a pad, big piece of paper at the top, write down, okay, what are all the negative emotions that are coming up in me? Put them on this piece of paper and write down what they're associated to, so you understand. I get irritated every day, and this is what happens. And then I get frustrated every day, and this is what happens, so that you can see your triggers and your buttons. We've talked about those in other podcasts. And then you can see how it's all kind of laying out. Once you have that on the piece of paper, then you can start to say, okay, This is a roadmap. This is telling me I need to take a detour. I need to go in a different direction. I need to try something different. Because if I don't, I'm going to just keep staying in this state, and that's not going to help anybody. Sincerely, that's not going to help anybody. So what you have to recognize at that point is it's my job, with all this information that I have, to decide what's the next direction I'm going to go in. What am I going to do with this? So look at the paper and say, are there things on here that I can do something with? Can I go to my boss? Can I have a conversation about it? Can I go and find out, can I make the conditions at which I work more comfortable? Can I say, it's not feasible for me to get a new job, but I can make the conditions better. Can I go and negotiate? And sometimes, really, honestly, it is necessary to just say, listen, this is not my ideal environment, and I've done this before, and I have just packed my things up and said, okay, it's time to look for something else, and I've gone and done it and recreated a whole life. Hence, this is why I get to talk to you out here. This is like life by design, and what I wanted. So I worked till the point where I was able to get to the space in my life where I can do this and live out here. But the very first thing you need to do is to capture this part, because remember, they're not bad, they're information. They only become bad when they are used against other people for the, not for the greater good, but when they're used against other people, or they're internalized within yourself to the point of making yourself ill. That's when they become bad. And the place to diffuse this and start the process is to find out what's there, what's happening, stay as completely neutral as you possibly can during the process. Just sit there, write it all down so you can see the roadmap. And if you're not doing it in the height of emotion, and you're not doing it at the point of feeling overwhelmed with it, you will be able to map it all out. And then you can say, okay, what's next? What are the choices I can make? So I hope this was helpful, and I will see you guys tomorrow.